think domestic violence is a problem for our community because, it just devalues all of us. It devalues the relationships that we have, it devalues our families, it devalues our children.
It does involve the community. It involves families. People need to be aware of it because it does happen.
Well, domestic violence has been in our community and most other communities for so long where it hasn't been the subject or the object of people's discussion or concern, that certainly now is the time for it to become such.
Domestic violence is something that touches every single one of us in this community, and whether we want to acknowledge it or not, it's real. And until we actually, all of us, acknowledge it, it's going to remain one of those insidious issues that is very, very challenging to deal with.
The problem with domestic violence is that it tends to happen in private. It happens inside living rooms and in bedrooms and outside of the scrutiny of the public.
It really has a societal cost. It may cost productivity in the workplace. It might mean additional medical expenses.
It is a known fact that domestic violence in the United States alone, if we're talking about healthcare costs, total to billions of dollars annually.
Violence in the family is so deeply scary, so deeply harmful. Because the family is that one unit where you're safe and loved and cared for. And, when violence happens in that safe place, then there's no safety anywhere anymore. Not for mom, not for dad, not for kids, not for anybody.
In my own family, it was hidden up until very, very recently, when my mother shared with me that my stepfather had battered her for their 10-year marriage. And I didn't know that. And as a child, I knew something was maybe a little off, but I began to sense that there was something else happening.
I am a victim of domestic violence since I was 15 years old. And if I had known what I know now, I don't think it would have continued this long. I feel it's important, especially for the young people, so they don't go on to be adults and not understand what actually is domestic violence.
I think I'd like to share a story, and it was with a dear friend many years ago. The story goes like this. She drove herself to Kaneohe police station with rivers of blood flowing down her face. When the police officer on duty asked what happened, she said, "My husband took a baseball bat to my head." And then he said, "Well, there's nothing we can do. We didn't see it. We can't arrest him." This was prior to probable cause and the 70906 DV misdemeanor law. He told her to go home and try not to make her husband so angry.
Domestic violence is something that touches probably everyone, whether it be, your own family members or your friends, or just when you read about it in the paper. I think the importance of domestic violence, and in particular Domestic Violence Action Center, is that people should be aware that there are resources out there for individuals who are suffering from domestic violence, that there's hope for them, and there's people who are out there who really can help them, and there's others who've survived. So we know it's possible to break that, that cycle of violence in the family.
For me, Domestic Violence Action Center is a response to those women in our community that are living in terror and fear in their own homes with the people that they love. And the Domestic Violence Action Center is a place where they can come and take back their lives, learn about safety, leave the relationship if that's their choice, and be treated with a lot of respect and dignity.
DVAC is a place where you can also get healing. And that is so important in families that are going through domestic violence or have gone through it, and still is that healing is not evident. That's what I appreciate about DVAC, and what I know and appreciate about DVAC is that they do bring that awareness in so many ways.
The organization began in 1990 as the Domestic Violence Legal Hotline, and the agency began providing specialized direct services to survivors of domestic violence, those people who were suffering the harm of abuse by a partner or lover or ex-partner. We have grown to a staff of 52 with an array of programs that we learned were necessary to meet the complex needs of families. We now have programs designed to meet the needs of children, youth, teens, adults. We go out into the community and help our community understand the problem of domestic violence.
We've gone decades trying to educate women, children about violence, both in schools and in relationships. And I think it was a couple of decades ago we decided, well, you know, we need to educate men as well. And I think that with the partnerships that made through the Domestic Violence Action Center, we've really been able to do a very good job at all three of those, to be in the schools, to talk to children about bullying, to talk to them about violent behaviors, about resolving conflicts in a healthy and productive way. I think in the third one with educating men, I think we've got a good start. I think we have still a long way to go. Oftentimes men want to avoid the topic.
The Domestic Violence Agency, or the DVAC, is very awesome, and it saves my life. I'm from the Philippines, and I married a man that I thought he will respect and love me and protect me. And I just believe him and love him so much. But I suffered this tremendous and extreme abuse, financially, emotionally, psychologically, sexually, and physically. I was so down the time that it comes to the point that I tried to kill myself or have this suicide attempt. I was so down and hopeless. But I have the neighbor that comes to help me and bring me to a psychologist. And I was so thankful that this psychologist introduces me to DVAC, or the domestic violence. At first, I have the hesitation to share what is going on in my life. I was so ashamed and so confused. But when the domestic violence, or the DVAC, comes and reached me, it was so amazing, and I see the light, and there is a hope. I have to say that it's a great things that happened in my life, and it changed me. It changed my life, saves me a lot. And now, I can't believe life is full of hope and light. I'm so blessed and grateful. I'm so happy that I'm with the good people, surrounded with the good people.
DVAC is now 25 years old, and in that time we've helped a lot of people, and we know that with public support, with support from lawmakers and from people who craft budgets at major corporations, we can do more of that work, and we can help more people.
Domestic Violence Action Center has folks who have legal expertise, who have counseling support, who provide prevention and good advice, and just a lot of care, and they're there for folks who are seeking help for the long run.
So if there is a family in need of services and support and guidance, I strongly recommend DVAC, and their services are extremely amazing, and I will do my best to help support as well.
community can join us in so many ways. They can provide donations to our shelters, to the Domestic Violence Action Center, to other groups in our community that help victims and children. They can, if they have children, particularly male children, they can be good role models. They can show that how to treat people with dignity and respect, that everybody is somebody to be valued. So there's a lot of different ways to not only raise awareness, be a good role model, but help the organizations that are helping victims of domestic violence.
The fact that we can be 25 years into the tenure of the Domestic Violence Action Center and still be talking about stuff that's so hidden in families that are notable for being so open about so many things, that to me tells us that we've got a lot of work yet to do, despite all the work that has been done, and that is considerable.
The Domestic Violence Action Center is a nonprofit organization. So, like most nonprofits, small funding and requires lots of help, volunteer help. One way to help, number one, is to volunteer your time, your effort, your support. Another way to help end domestic violence is to educate yourself about what domestic violence is all about, what causes it. There are laws that protect people no matter where they are, in their homes or in the workplace. So, educating yourself about what DVAC and all the other organizations are trying to do to protect our families and our children, that's important to accomplish too.
Over the years that I've served on the board of directors, one of the most rewarding things has been meeting the survivors, hearing them tell their stories and the courage that they have to be in front of people and share their stories. I mean, it's such a personal thing. And for many, it's an embarrassing situation to have been in, but to see them come out as survivors and living fulfilling, healthy lives, that's the most rewarding experience that I've had so far.
Because I am a survivor and I've learned not to be ashamed of what has happened to me, I've shared my story with many people. And within this last year, I've actually had 2 people come to me, and I've had 2 people come to me, and I have given them the number to Domestic Violence Action Center, and they have gone to a safe place, and they are out of their situation. They have thanked me more than enough, and when I saw they were in that situation, I shared my story just for that very reason. And I will continue to do that, and I feel survivors should, because it gives people hope.
I can understand that domestic violence traditionally has been considered to be a private matter, and therefore it is so easy to see that the problem is individualized and silenced. But nevertheless, understanding the impact and understanding what it does to us, to the community, and to everyone is important.
It's a very pervasive problem, and I think it's important that we start shifting, particularly the way in which men think about women. Unfortunately, a lot of the times the problem is men, and our own insecurities and our own issues with being men in an incredibly difficult society. And oftentimes men take that frustration out on the women that we love in particular. And so I believe in particular that men we need to change what it means to be a man.
They're not alone. There's a lot of good people that are willing to give their helping hands, like what they did to me, and to a lot of people that they gave their hand and help. So they're really not alone. The Domestic Violence Action Center is here to help them in so many ways.
It is everyone's kuleana. It is everyone's responsibility. I want my family and friends to know, please do something. If you see something, do something. Say something. Don't turn away and look the other way, because it's not only going to affect that family, it's going to affect the community, and it could affect you too. It could happen. I've seen it happen. So just be sensitive, show aloha, show kindness and compassion, take care, malama. Malama the body, malama the mind and spirit, not only of yourself, but of others. Domestic violence is not only a feeling, it's not a word, it is pain, it is hurt.
What do I see going forward? So many things. I mean, there's so many things for us to do. How do we raise our young people, our young men, and to some degree our young women, in teaching them healthy ways to express their emotions? How do we teach our young people to have voice? How do we teach our families that, you know, you can't turn a blind eye to this, that that's not really helpful? So on every level, we just need to be much more conscious of what we're doing, mindful, purposeful. I think about that actually a lot, because even in those instances, those small ones, we can each do, even if you don't want to do something big, you can do that in your daily interaction. How do we speak to each other? How do we teach our kids how to express love and anger, frustration, anxiety?
What I would like to focus on is, I think it's very important, are the kids, you know, and if you can encourage your children to stay in school, to focus on education, you know, to focus on developing skills, because that eventually helps a person prosper in the future, and that they can be aware of situations like this and know what to do about it and be careful about it at the same time, and hopefully, yes, lead by example and make a difference in our communities.
Actually going out and talking with young people, getting them to become involved, owning the issue, finding out what they can do to address the issue of teen dating violence, preventing it right from the beginning. I think that's kind of where we're moving, where we understand that we took all of our eggs and placed them in one basket, and that was the legal world. And we've told people to call the police, and we've told them to get restraining orders. So we have to be there to help them through that process. But don't we want to, as a community, address the issue before it starts, really getting into the schools and anywhere where there's young people, and getting them to start thinking about, what is a respectful relationship? What does it look like? Often in the talk stories that we do in the community, young people and adults say, if I can't see it, I can't be it. So being able to engage with young people, I think, is our next step.
Our young people are so smart. They're so much smarter than we are, us old people. And if anybody's going to save us, preserve the culture, protect the culture, keep the knowledge, but also bring peace back to our families, then I'm counting on the young people to be the ones to do it. You know, my children's generation will be the ones to do it. They will raise us up. They'll raise the beloved nation for us.
Do everything that you can to stamp out violence in our community. There's just too much of it, whether it's sex assault on our college campuses, whether it's domestic violence, whether it's not valuing individuals because they're different. You know, words can hurt as much as a fist, but it takes all of us. You know, we talk about it taking a village to raise a child. Well, it's going to take a village to stop violence. We all need to be part of that village.
It is so important for the community to understand what the staff at the Domestic Violence Action Center has to face every day. The attorneys, the advocates, the people who answer the telephone, the educators, the people on site at court, the people who work with our children. Each one of us should be thanking those who we know come face to face with the panic and the terror that our staff have to maneuver in order to bring safety and to bring options and to bring a pathway to a future that holds hope and inspires healing. Without the staff at the Domestic Violence Action Center, we are much less likely to reach a place where we live in a healthy community. So I know that my community joins me in thanking and honoring the work that the staff at the Domestic Violence Action Center does. If you have an opportunity or you have the privilege of encountering somebody who works with the Domestic Violence Action Center or another domestic violence agency, please take a moment to thank them and let them know that what they do holds meaning and is a precious gift.